All right, folks, breaking news in the fight game. I know you've heard that all week, but this week has been insane. I'm in Las Vegas for Gervonta Davis, Frank Martin. That fight's going to be crazy, but the UFC has just officially announced what I told you guys a week ago. The thing that you guys said was a marketing play from Conor McGregor. No, this fight's still going to go on. Trust me, it was an issue with Ticketmaster. No, wait, it's all a big game. It's all a big show. It's all mind games. It never was. Told you so. Conor McGregor is injured, and the fight with him and Michael Chandler is now officially off. UFC 303 is still going on. We have details, the breakdown. Let's go. All right, so like I told you guys a week ago at this point, I had no sources on this, but I did have a feeling the way that the man with the source, and by the way, let's give him his flowers for all you guys that said Ariel Helwani was making the story up and that Ariel Helwani had nothing on this and that he was just trying to get clicks. That wasn't the case. Whatever you want to say about Ariel, I know personally that he does his due diligence, that he is the standard for MMA journalism, that he actually practices professional journalism that to be honest, really none of us YouTubers have any experience in. He is the one man that we look to for this news, and he got it right once again. As he's explained in a video today, like I said, Conor's injured, and here's kind of the timeline of things that happened.
So as you just heard, the Conor McGregor-Michael Chandler fight scheduled for June 29th is off. It has been canceled. Conor McGregor suffered an injury about a day or so before that scheduled press conference in Dublin. That was early last week. And about 48 hours or so ago, the realization was that this fight isn't going to happen. And so the UFC went into overdrive. And the top choice seemed to be from the beginning, Jiri Prochazka against Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight title rematch.
All right, so you heard it there. Conor McGregor injured the day before they were going to have this press conference, which I said in my video was the most likely case because, again, doing some detective work, Conor had posted some sparring footage, some training footage a day or two before that. So he was still healthy. Everything was fine. And the day before they have this press conference, he gets injured. Obviously, they want to keep it under wraps. One, because I assume Conor didn't want Michael Chandler to know he was injured or what was injured if they were potentially still going to fight. And two, if they didn't have to replace this fight, they didn't want to stir up any undue negative attention around it. Turns out that's what had to happen. I guess Conor had to go get MRIs. They tried to make it work, can't work. I want to say this, though. I hope people online aren't going to point the finger at Conor McGregor and say, how could you have pulled out? What a wuss. How would you ever? I said this in my video. Conor McGregor, before this point, had never pulled out of a fight for injury. And when you're talking about a guy that had a layoff like he had, and multiple times he's had layoffs to come back and make this big, career comeback, yeah, it's frustrating. Yeah, it sucks. But you do want to do it at least in the most healthy you can be in a fight like this. It's important because Conor isn't on the rise to the top anymore. Like, he has money. He doesn't have to fight, so he wants to do it in the most, again, healthy and productive way possible versus what I told you in the last video. His mindset probably around doing something while he's already injured probably went out the door with the Dustin Poirier fight. When he came into that fight with already some sort of issue with his shin on his back leg and then breaks his leg. I fought Dustin Poirier with a snapped tibia bone and then I snapped my femur bone, mate. The point is, I think this is the right move, as much as it's a frustrating thing because there is nothing to replace Conor. But in the fight game and in show business in general, the saying is the show must go on, and that's what UFC 303 is going to have to do. Rebooked main event and co-main event. Both fights are serviceable. I mean, again, nothing's going to replace Conor, but you have in the main event Alex Pereira and Jiri Prochazka, the rematch. Obviously, Alex won the last one, stoppage in the second round. This one going to be different, potentially. Alex, I'm pretty sure, has a broken foot or broken toes or something, and I don't know how much he's been training, if at all, but he's a gangster for stepping in and doing this. Again, I don't know what he's made of. It's not normal human flesh, bone, and blood. He's a psychopath. And then the co-main event, Diego Lopez and Brian Ortega replacing a Jamal Hill pullout, which is another chaotic thing that's happened. And while we're talking pullouts, yes, my game is A1, ask your girl. No, what I really mean is we might as well mention Khamzat Chimaev has pulled out of this Saturday's main event in Saudi Arabia for apparently what's Dana White's saying is a serious illness, so prayers up there. But it's a crazy time in the fight game. Like I said, let's go back to this co-main event on UFC 303. Jamal Hill out. New co-main event completely. Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez. I love that fight. Lopez coming off a nasty stoppage of Sadiq Youssef. Brian Ortega submitting Yair Rodriguez after his ankle up before the fight even started and having a terrible first round, but somehow getting that victory. He's back, yes, to that co-main event. And honestly, I'm excited for the main event as well. Like I said, it's hard to replace a Conor McGregor fight. It's damn near impossible. But I'll give the UFC this, and you're now seeing it with that new series on Roku. When the cards are on the table and the chips are down, they find ways to pull the rabbit out of the hat, man. They have once again done exactly what they could to save this card. Yes, it took a little longer than maybe it would normally, but that's because, you know, Conor McGregor, I guess, for the most part in his career, has prided himself on not pulling out of fights ever. I just think in this case specifically, with all of the years off, with all of the injuries that he's previously had going into fights and how that can jeopardize a fight. Again, go back to the third Dustin Poirier fight and you'll see that. I think Conor finally said, just be a little bit more patient with this. Now, I don't know if they rebook. Maybe I missed that in this announcement. I don't know if they're thinking August, September. Ariel's been all over this, and once again, you got to give Ariel Helwani his flowers. He killed it with the reporting of this. It was a frustrating situation, I think, for MMA fans and obviously for the UFC and really everybody involved. No one wants to take Conor McGregor out of a main event. No one wants to not have one of the biggest fights, if not the biggest fight of the year during International Fight Week. Of course, we all wanted to see it. It sucks, but we got to move on. So that's where we're at right now. Like I said, banger of a co-main event. Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez. We'll see what happens at the 145 division. Ilya Topuria is talking about Max Holloway and then, you know, potentially moving up and then going to box and doing all this other stuff. But this, not only being a fan-friendly fight, is also another fight to set up potential contenders in that division. And obviously the main event, Alex Bejeda, a gangster, coming off the Jamal Hill stoppage, and Yuri Prochazka once again back in action. We'll see if that second time around he can change fate and find a way to put down the Brazilian statue himself. But as it sits right now, it's official. Had to bring you guys the news. Probably going to be a lot of videos today from this setup, so stay tuned. But Conor McGregor is out of UFC 303. Yes, it sucks. It's unfortunate, but in my opinion, it was probably the right move. What happens next for UFC 303? Is someone else going to pull out? What happens for Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler? Do they still make the fight? Does Conor ever fight again? Is he retired? Does Michael Chandler just move on? And I didn't say this during the video. I probably should. I feel awful for Conor, of course, as everyone does. No one wants to get injured, but you have to feel terrible for Michael Chandler, who waited patiently on this fight, who never wavered in his belief for this fight, who essentially took a full year and change off his career to make this fight. And as of right now, he's still not going to get it. I hate that, and I wish Mike the best. I hope they can remake this because you don't want to see an opportunity for him to get paid and potentially to change his life, not only just by getting paid, but, you know, a win over Conor McGregor changes everything. So hope they can remake it. Don't know if they will. You guys let me know in the comments because I don't have those answers in this wild, wild world of MMA and combat sports. But as we always do, I guess we'll find out.